Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nitai Namineche Namirhade Shradamugina Dite Chere Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My heart is filled up with gratitude. I'm so honored that all of you God brothers and God sisters came here today. For I'm realizing more and more at this time of our lives that it's the happiest moments in my life when I'm able to see you and have time with you and to feel the resonance of a lifetime of service together on the same planet. It's worth sticking around for your whole lifetime in Krishna consciousness and not missing a day, or if you miss a day, make up for it some other time, with your God family and with all the Vaishnavis of the world, because as we do serve together, our hearts become more and more entwined and we feel kindred in all ways as we're on the same path, which is chalked out for us by the previous acharyas. Thank you, everyone, for this heartfelt gathering, which I take as every year a great encouragement in Krishna consciousness, because in gardening, there's a way in which when we take time at intervals to notice what has grown, what fruits we're getting together. We're busy all the time, all of us, in many different activities. But in gatherings like this, where we're able to introspect, look at the various ways we've worked together, we can take stock in time well used and all the sacrifice which comes from a word sacred, the efforts that we've put in to serve Krishna. And staying the course is not easy, because one has to face obstacles in the ways that Krishna asks us to in the Bhagavad Gita, which requires some internal fortitude and integrity. But the great reward is that we get to live with one another in this service. And in here at ISV, we've noticed a family come up. And that is, we have generations now of devotees. And then when we see our beloved elders and peers come from various places from around the world, we notice that there is even a larger society that envelops us and protects us, even if sometimes it's annoying, or people generally are annoying for one reason or another, but that's pretty much the case anywhere you go. The upside is that we get to help one another and become Krishna conscious together. And we notice it. We notice that we are all in it together, and we notice how others are giving their sacrifice to Krishna, and it inspires us together. So it's really nice, isn't it? In the Vyasa-puja, we also have the opportunity to honor Srila Vyasadeva. This is the day in which, or there are many days in which, every time we give Srimad Bhagavatam class, we honor Srila Vyasadeva, but there are intervals and special events during which we remember the ways that Krishna goes to great lengths to give us the opportunity to come back to the light. Tamasima Jyotirgamai. The Vedas say, don't stay in the darkness, come into the light. And Krishna, more than anyone, wants us to come back. He empowers great souls. He comes himself to give us the opportunity to go back to Godhead. It's our mission statement, Jive Doi Krishnanam Sarvadharmasar. We exist as an organization to give mercy, to distribute it to the world. And that's always been Krishna's idea for the material world. Whether people take it or not is their business, and our business is on his behalf to present it to as many people as possible as representatives of Krishna. The Vyasa-puja is remembering Srila Vyasadeva. I'm always struck with the effort he went to divide the original Vedas into several parts, to train various disciples to teach them. And then he saw that there would be a need for summarizing them. He gave Vedanta Sutra, a summary of the Upanishads, which are the first transcendental section of the Vedas. And then, of course, he gave the Itihasas, the Mahabharata, especially with the Bhagavad Gita. And then he started on the Bhagavad Purana. And we know that he met his spiritual master in a moment of crisis. Narada had come to assuage his anxiety. And Srila Vyasadeva said that I've done all this work, and it is so much work to compile something for a modern audience. This is always the preoccupation of the acharyas, to think, how will people be able to assimilate this? And Vyasadeva thought like that. That's why he came out with the Puranas, and especially Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Purana. But Narada Muni said, he didn't go far enough. You have to be more direct about transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So Srila Vyasadeva had gone back to his ashrama, Samyaprash, surrounded by berry trees, which apparently sages like berries. I didn't used to, but since I found that they like them, now I like them too. It hasn't improved my intellect, but there in Samadhi he had, by the mercy of his spiritual master, been able to directly envision the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then coming out of his Samadhi, he fleshed out the Bhagavad Purana to give us the Srimad Bhagavatam, which then became the Amala Purana, or the very means of conquest, as we state, Tato Jayam Udirayat. If one can hear the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout one's life, then one will have a successful life. And the worship of Srila Vyasadeva starts with his own son, Shukadeva, who at first, well, of course, he had to become a convert. We may notice that not everybody is immediately attracted to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. They may have various other things to do, or they may have other ideas. In some of our recent preaching, in speaking to a highly educated person who is highly placed in academia, who read a book I recently wrote, he said, I really like the book, but what is the need for the divine and the supreme and God, and so forth. Even Shukadeva himself, when first coming out of the womb, left home. Srila Vyasadeva was so confident with the power of the Srimad Bhagavatam that he sent his representatives into the forest to recite the verses of the Bhagavatam, like Aho Bhakti Yamstana Kalakutam, about how merciful Krishna was to Putana. And by the vibration, Shukadeva's heart was transformed from being averse to everything or unattached to anything and becoming attached to Krishna. And much is made of this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that if someone who cares nothing for the material world could then become attached to Srimad Bhagavatam, what must be the quality of the Srimad Bhagavatam? So Shukadeva then imbibed the message of Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father, and then he imparted it to Sutta Goswami. And we find at the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the sages, after father of Sutta Goswami, Romaharshan, had been given a Brahminical execution for his folly of missing the forest for the trees. He had studied, had Romaharshan, and there he was as a representative of all of the Shastras for the sages at Naimisaranya. But when Balaram came on his pilgrimage and stopped there, Romaharshan didn't stand up and honor him. So he was replaced. Passive voice. And Sutta Goswami, his son, Ugrashrava. Ugra means fierce, and Shrava means hearer. If you want to make advancement in spiritual life, one can become a fierce hearing agent. That is, we use all of our vitality and energy to hear deeply from Srimad Bhagavatam. So he had done that. And the sages of Naimisaranya then honor him. At the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, they say, Vetatom saumya tat sarvam tatvatas tad anugrahat bruyu snigdasya shishyasya guravo guyamapyuta. Sutta, you've been able to imbibe the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam because you're saumya, you're a gentle soul. And because of your mood in serving your gurus, Veta, you know all about this. You've realized it. Bruyus nignasya shishyasya guravo kuimapyata. You've received the snigda, the kindness of all your gurus. And this is pointed to in the Srimad Bhagavatam as the means for assimilating this knowledge. One has to, unlike an idea of getting a book out of the library and becoming a brain surgeon, or maybe going on YouTube and watching a few tutorials before hanging out your shingle. You can ask Neil Jariwala what it takes to become a doctor. I don't know if you'll be a doctor as long as you'll be a student of medicine under so many teachers to become a doctor. So this is the idea of Sutta Goswami. He had dedicated most of his life, all of his life, to imbibing the knowledge from his great teachers, not the least of which was Shukadeva. So then when he begins to speak the Bhagavatam, he shows the etiquette. This is the Vyasa-puja, leading back to who gave us this knowledge in the first place, who's arranged this for us, showing gratitude as Vyasadeva opens the chapter. He says, iti, which is quotation marks marking the last statements that were made in the first chapter. Iti samprashna samhrishta vipranam romaharshanai pratipuja vatastesham pravaktum upachakrame. So he says that samhrishta, means harsha means one becomes enlivened. So one of the meanings. Iti samprashna. And why is he enlivened? Because the questions of the sages were so complete. They were so perfect. And this can only happen to someone who's completely serious. Sometimes if you ask for a question, it's like, or if you're a music student and you didn't practice and you go to your teacher and your teacher says, any questions? And your teacher said, you didn't practice, right? Otherwise you would have had a lot of questions. But they had such perfect questions, asked 6 questions. Iti samprashna samprishta vipranam brahmaharshani pratipuja. So pratipuja means they've honored him. In the previous chapter, it's all honoring him. And then pratipuja means, prati means now pratipuja, he's giving back the honor to them. Now I give it back to you. Pratipuja vachas tesham. And what is he honoring? What is he doing puja to? Vachas tesham, their words. He's honoring their words. Pravaktum means now he's ready to hold forth. And he's going to speak authoritatively. Upachakrame. So now he'll make the attempt. And then Sutta speaks. Yam pravajantam anupetam apetakritam dvaipayano viraha kartara ajuhava putreti tan mayatayata ravo minetus sansarva bhuta hridayam munim anatosmi, which is the charming pastime of Shukadeva appearing in the world. Sutta is recalling how his guru Shukadeva was so detached from the world that he came out of the womb a little late, not wanting to get entangled. And when he did, he just took off. His father had several ideas for him, a trust fund for school, a thread to give him some mantra, and Shukadeva didn't even look at him. He just turned around and walked the other way. That was his position. Apetam, he was not interested in school. Kids, cover your ears. Apetak. Dvaipayano viraha kartara ajuhava. So then moetically it's described how in separation from his son he called out, oh my son, putreti tan mayataya taravo binedus, and only the trees absorbed the sound and only their echo could be heard. Putreti tan mayataya taravo binedus tam sarva bhuta hridayamuna amatosmi, which is him glorifying, him meaning Sutta glorifying Shukadeva, that by his speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, he can enter the hearts of all. He can transform us from the inside out. Then he says, Yaswanubhavam akila shuti saramekam adyatmadipam atitirshittam tamondam samsarinam purana. Shall we do it again? Yeah. It says, Swanubhavam akila shuti saramekam. I'll go line by line. He says that Shuka had gone back to Srila Vyasadeva and he had taken the essence of all the teachings of the Vedas. And they come in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of the requests of the sages at Naimisharanya who had said, Buddhini buddhi karmani shotavyani vibhagasha tato satya vimucheta, that please just give us the essence of all the teachings of the Vedas. And Yaswanubhava means that he had realized it completely. Yaswanubhava kila shruti saramekam adhyatma deepam atitirshittam tamondam. And because people are complete ignorance because of darkness, he's going to distribute it. Samsarinam, for the samsaris, the samsari family, that all those who are being crushed by the wheel of time, they're being recycled into new bodies. Samsarinam purana samsarinam karunayaha purana guyam, out of a sense of compassion. He had no other motive whatsoever. Tam Vyasa sunam upayami guru muninam. He's offering his obeisances. And then Narayanam namaskritya naram chayavanotamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. That this is how to respectfully approach. That's why we have this worshiping process. He's now offering his obeisances Narayan, Narayan Rishi, Saraswati, and then to the Lord himself. And then back to the sages. Munayak saraprishtoham bhavad bir lokamangalam yakrita krishna samprashno inatma suprasiditi. And he declares that this kind of conversation amongst enlightened persons can cause the descent of mercy or prasad. So the Vyasa-puja is honoring this intention and process of giving mercy, tracing back all the way to Krishna, that the material world is a place where we wallow in darkness. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that without Vyasadeva, Maya Mugdha Jivar Nahik, Swata Krishna Gan, it's not automatic that we come out. Unless somebody came up and say, hey, excuse me, you look spiritual. Who, me? Unless somebody took the trouble to interfere in our ordinary course of activities, which seems fine. It seemed like a good idea at the time until we get, again, challenged by death, repositioned in the material world over and over again. There's a way in which this intervention is necessary, and it comes via Srila Vyasadeva. Maya Mugdha Jivir Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan Jivera Kripaya Koilak Krishna Veda Puran. Out of special mercy, he compiled the Vedas, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, to make it available to the world because anarto pasanam sakshad bhakti yoga madhuksaje lokasyat janato vidvams chakre satvata samhita. He knew that people were in ignorance and that they'd have to have some way to break through. And therefore, he gave this samhita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lokasya ajanato means everybody in the world's nuts. They've gone completely crazy and they've forgotten everything, so they need Srimad Bhagavatam. And so, following the footsteps of the great sages, Srila Vyasadeva, who passed this down, Srila Prabhupada had brought this whole system of imparting knowledge to the world. And this is our preoccupation. And it's such a nice job. If elected, I guarantee, jobs, jobs, jobs. Because when the Sankirtan movement expands, everyone has something to do to help spread Krishna consciousness. And the opportunity is for those who are Paramahamsas. There's an author named Collins who wrote a book called From Good to Great. It's all about the greatest, he mentions many, many good corporations. There's so many. But then he said, but there's a few great ones. And he went into detail. Great writer, and also he has not only a business sense, but he's also sort of a sociologist. And he talked about what it is that makes some companies great. And then many people complained to him. They said, it doesn't work in the social sector. You're going to have to write another book. And he admitted that's true. So he wrote another book, From Good to Great, in the social sector, which means that what about people who aren't getting paid? And this is something that Nawab mentioned when he saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of Mahaprabhu's representatives was also in the service of the Nawab. And the Nawab was saying, I think he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the servant was trying to play it down because he didn't know how the cruel Nawab might react in the future and then try to mess things up for Mahaprabhu and his followers. So no, he's not really. And he said, no, you don't say that. I know this for sure, and here's how. I have hundreds of thousands of servants, but they only work because they're afraid I'll kill them if they don't. And they're also getting paid. But he has tens of thousands of followers and servants, and they go with him wherever he goes. He doesn't pay him anything. He doesn't have any money. He just has a little cloth he wears around him. And so we come to this most cherished occupation that the sages then say, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktirat hoksije ahai tukiya pratyata yatma suprasidati. You could stop reading Bhagavatam there if you wanted to. If you were somehow stranded on an island and all you had was those few verses, you could make out what to do. And that's render unmotivated, uninterrupted service to the Lord. It means just serve for the sake of serving. So Srila Vyasadeva and all his ambassadors that come after, they're all in this mood. And we're under their umbrella. Say, yay. We get to serve as much as we like for the rest of eternity. Someone said, who was it who said in their offering, oh, it's Krishna Saka. He said, we want to serve not only this life, but next life too. And yesterday I was talking to somebody, one of our devotees, about doing this or that. And she said, well, if you tell me to jump into the deep blue sea, I'll do that. There's a way of this mood of let's serve selflessly that comes down from Srila Vyasadeva and all his representatives, and we're the recipients of that. We can serve as much as we like. We can surrender as much as we like. We can expand the Sankirtan movement while we're all here together. We might as well, just to inundate the planet as much as possible and just see what happens. It could be one of the most amazing things we've ever seen if we maybe expand by tenfold what we're doing now. We could start to get an inkling of what it looks like. Right, Bhagavata Shraya Prabhu? He thinks big all the time. So on this day of Shri Vyasa-puja, it's been a long morning, and I'm overwhelmed with enthusiasm that it's come from all of you. I pray to Srila Prabhupada, dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Gauranitai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please continue to engage us in the Sankirtan movement. Please expand our services according to the intensity of our desire. Please expand the intensity of our desire. And please let us work together in cooperation so we can be together to watch the transformation of ourselves, the most amazing thing that can happen, that once we can see in ourselves that we're transforming, and so we can be there for others in a very kind and gentle way to help them advance in Krishna consciousness. And may we follow the edict of our dear Satyadev Prabhu to remember Prabhupada's mission statement as Paschatya Deshatarane, that Prabhupada wanted to save the Western countries. It'll be especially pleasing to him. So may everyone, I got to keep it in a prayerful mood, be deputized to preach in the Western world effectively. And please let us also smash all our goals and beat Mayapur. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shraddha Devi Dasi, and all of those who worked on the team to organize this for us today. It looks seamless, but I could hear the conversations going on for weeks of what it takes to put together. So I thank you very much for all of you who have worked hard.
Shyamlangi. Shyamlangi, come out.
While she's waiting for her team to come out, thank you, Nirkula, for doing everything, so I don't even know how it's being done. I just show up, and she drives, she cooks, she cleans, she washes clothes, she makes sure I behave myself, that we're on time, and I got the speaking part, all thrown in together. Thank you.